There are three things you must remember when playing the Egyptians. That's what they told us. How could they stand there blank-faced and lie through their teeth? Egyptians are one of the most complicated pantheons in Age of Mythology Retold, and this video is going to go in depth to explain all the ins and outs of the great civilization that built the pyramids. Before we get into the unique attributes of each of the major gods, let's break down what is shared throughout the Pantheon. The Egyptian economy is a cut below the rest in terms of gather rates. The Greek villager is a base villager for all intents and purposes, and you can think of the Egyptian laborer as 90% of that. But the Egyptians have a way to boost their economy to take the advantage, and that's through the pharaoh. The pharaoh, when empowering, gives 20% more resources to drop site income. This doesn't mean the villager gathers any faster. In fact, it means the pharaoh is literally creating extra resources for you when empowering. If you want to get super sweaty, you can almost empower the entirety of your economy by force dropping villagers and moving your pharaoh around your base to hit every drop site. That's not the only thing the pharaoh does though. He also increases technology, military, build rates, and obelisk or lighthouse line of sight by 75%. There's also an 0.75x multiplier on the attack speed of the buildings that are being empowered, increasing the DPS. So for Migdol's towers or town centers. The Egyptians gather favor through building monuments to the gods. You can build 5 unique monuments, each costing more than the last and each giving more favor as well. The rates start at 0.75 favor per second and increase by 0.25 for each subsequent monument. The final monument, the monument to the gods, is very expensive and gives a 0.5 increase with a total of 0.2 favor per second. If you have all 5 monuments, you can expect to get around 39 favor per minute before taking into account any unique upgrades or empowerment. The Egyptians also get one more trade-off. They don't use wood for buildings. Instead, they use gold. Oh, and also their non-military buildings are free. Amazing, right? They do, however, build slower, approximately 28.5% slower than a Greek villager, so it's not all good. They also don't share their economic buildings ever, as they have a different drop site for every resource. In fact, the only way to share everything is to use a town center or a village center. Militarily, the Egyptians have 3 buildings. As with all pantheons in the Archaic Age, you get a temple. The Egyptians are able to train their main hero unit, the priest, from it. They are massable, ranged heroes that can heal. When targeting myth units, their damage changes from pierce to divine damage, ignoring all armor. And as they age up, they also get massive increases in their range. In the classical age, they get the barracks. It trains spearmen, a medium soft counter to cavalry, axemen, a hard counter to infantry, and slingers, a hard counter to archers. In the heroic age, you can build a Migdol. These produce 3 different premium Egyptian units. The chariot archer is the backbone of the Egyptian army, a long-ranged horse archer that has high DPS and a nice bonus versus infantry. You can basically beat anything in the right circumstances. The camel rider is a fast cavalry unit that has a middle-of-the-road base damage, but has a huge bonus versus cavalry and a touch versus archers. It's a great raider and anti-raider. Finally, the war elephant is a building-destroying gigantic tank menace of a unit. It has high HP, high DPS, a huge bonus versus buildings, and decent bonus versus archers. Also, when you get it to champion upgrades, it also gets a tiny bit of AoE damage to terrorize your opponents with. It is slow and has high population count, So be careful when choosing where to send it because it probably won't be running away. The final military building is the Siege Works. This is a cheap heroic age building that produces siege weapons. It does take a while to build, so it might be worth it to put your pharaoh onto it to get it out faster if you need it quickly. In the heroic age, you get access to the siege tower, a bulky melee siege weapon. In the mythic age, you get the catapult, arguably the best ranged building killing siege weapon. It comes with massive range and damage, but does cost a pretty penny and dies very quickly when left out in the open. There are two more buildings that are used to scout. The obelisk is a cheap and weak building that has large radius, a large line of sight. They can be used to lock down a map and strangle an opponent with the vision they provide. In the Mythic Age, you also get the Lighthouse, a building best used to taunt your opponent and show off your boundless wealth. Okay, seriously, it's not a bad investment if you build it right in the middle of the map and empower it. It is effectively omniscience. Egypt currently has 3 major gods, Ra, Isis, and Set, each with their own unique minor god paths and unique bonuses. Ra is the god of the sun. His villagers work 25% faster on berry bushes. He gets 15% more HP on his Migdal units. His priest can empower as well, though at 60% of the efficiency of a pharaoh. And his pharaoh, when empowering a monument, becomes an AoE priest, affecting everything within 6-ish houses surrounding the monument. He also gets the unique technology Skin of the Rhino, decreasing villagers' vulnerability to hack and pierce by 25%. Ra also gets the god power Rain, which increases the gather rate of all of your own farms by 150%. It gives approximately 42 food per villager farming, so the rain almost pays off the cost of a farm, but it does have a really low recast cost, so it's super worth it to get in there and use 2, 3, or even 4 rains in one game. Isis is the goddess of magic and healing. Her town centers give you 5 extra population. Her technologies are 10% cheaper, and her obelisks cost 5 less gold, and are built 60% faster. Her monuments shield from enemy god powers at a little less than 5 houses of range, and when empowered, the range is doubled. Also, the monument generates favor at double the speed, and anyone in range of the monument gets healed for 1 HP a second. Isis also gets the technology Flood of the Nile, which gives a food trickle of 1 per second for the rest of the game. She also gets Prosperity, which gives an 80% increase to gold gather rate for villagers and a 20% increase in the trade rate for caravans. Effectively, if you gather for the entire duration of the Prosperity with 0 walking time, you'll net approximately 31 gold. So this is super worth it, and recently been seeing players really spamming this when playing Isis. Set is the god of trickery. His pharaoh can train animals of Set. However, to be honest, it's not really ever worth it to build these animals of Set for fighting. Generally, the best usage here is when you really need the extra food to hunt without sending your villagers out into the map. You can just build a couple of gazelle, or build a couple of giraffe, or build a couple of elephant rhinos and have them be your village's food source for a little bit. Priests can convert wild animals to fight for you, but they lose 25% of their food. These are also amazing for eating. However, if you get the aggressive animals, they're also a really, really nice addition to the early game army for Set. Barracks units gain 5% speed, and military buildings, not including the temple, cost 25% less gold. Every barracks or migdal in approximately 4 houses of range of a Set monument has a 10% reduction in the cost of units that are trained from it. He also gets the technology Clairvoyance, which reduces vision's cooldown by 50% and makes it free to recast. Speaking of vision, that is his Archaic Age god power. It reveals a massive amount of the map for 20 seconds. Often I think the best way to use this god power is to just drop it on your opponent's base about 10 seconds after they hit the classical age. And this will reveal their entire early game plan for you to counter. The classical age brings 3 minor gods. Bast is available to Ra and Isis and comes with the mighty Sphinx, whose special ability is Whirlwind. It has a 15-second cooldown and continuously damages enemy objects over 2 seconds at 15 damage per second with an AoE of 2.5 range. The Sphinx by itself is a formidable raider and can easily sneak in and do massive damage to an unsuspecting opponent's economy. You probably don't want to train too many of these though, unless you intend on grabbing their unique technologies, Cryosphinx and Hierosphinx. These technologies increase damage, HP, and speed of the Sphinx, and when you have them both, not only will your raids be terrifying, but they will also ruin enemy armies with their AoE damage. Bast also has the technologies Sacred Cats, which increases food gather rate by 10%, and farm gather rate by 5%, and Adds of Wet, which increases wood gather rate by 10% and also allows villagers to one-hit trees. Finally, Bast's god power is Eclipse. Eclipse increases myth units' overall effectiveness. Damage goes up by 20%, speed up by 15%, special attack recharge time 60% faster, and a reduction of vulnerability to hack, pierce, and crush by 10%. Additionally, during Eclipse, your monuments work 50% faster. This god power in combination with a healthy amount of Sphinx can be a game-ending power spike when used correctly. Ptah is available to Ra and Set and comes with the Wadjet, a ranged glass cannon that does 8.33 divine damage as a tick over 5 seconds. When you combine obelisks and Wadjets, it can be incredibly oppressive to play against. The technologies Ptah brings mostly focus on the barracks units. Scalloped Axe increases the attack of Axemen by 15%. Lever Frame Shield decreases vulnerability to pierce armor for Spearmen by 15%. And Electron Bullets increases damage by 10% and gives 0.5 divine damage to the Slinger. The final technology is Shadoof, which reduces farm cost and build time by 50%. Ptah's god power is Shifting Sands, and incredibly powerful utility god power that after 3 seconds can move your or an ally's army anywhere you have vision on the map. It's perfect for hitting unprotected villages, armies, or surprise attacks onto town centers. You can also be sneaky with it and shift your villagers somewhere to start side builds or grab a town center or sneak a gold mine. Anubis is available to Isis and Set and gives a powerful raiding unit in the Anubite. The Anubite has the special ability Jump, aptly titled, which allows the Anubite to leap over obstacles on the way to its target. It's also usable manually, which I recommend to use most of the time. At 5 speed and with a leap, the Anubite makes one of the best villager killers the Egyptian has to offer in the classical age. Run around the back lines of an enemy's defenses, jump over the walls, and kill villagers for free with their high DPS. Then run off with the jump again back to safety and heal back up, only to rinse and repeat for the remainder of the classical age and beyond. The other nasty business is that the leap has an AoE attached to it. It might be small, but it's still super useful to backline dive the archers sitting there trying to deal with your spearman forces. You can also upgrade the Anubite with Feet of the Jackal, which increases the damage by 20%, hit points by 40%, and also the range of the jump by 3. If you make more than 1 extra Anubite, this technology is a must grab. Serpent Spear is one of the big technologies inside of Anubis that gives Spearmen 0.75 divine damage over 6 seconds, making them hit really hard. You can also grab Necropolis to increase your favor gather rate of monuments by 30%. This technology in of itself can help you make an army of jackals or set up to spam any heroic or mythic age myth unit for massive destruction. Finally, Anubis has Plague of Serpents, which when cast will summon 14 uncontrollable serpents to remain for the rest of the game, or until they are killed. They are treated as animals, and enemy villagers will use their bow to attack them. They also have a very low multiplier versus villagers, making them not much of a threat versus them at all. I recommend using this god power either early on for an advantage while taking a fight, or to defend an area your villagers are gathering resources from early on. The recast is probably not going to be something worth spending your favor on very often. Oh, and also they can be used on water, and it is actually quite strong on the water. So feel free, if you're playing on a map like Anatolia, to just drop that god power down for immediate defense or offense. The Heroic Age also brings 3 minor gods. Sobek is available to Ra and Isis and is an incredibly versatile god that brings another ranged DPS glass cannon. But this one is a sniper that doesn't miss and can shoot from 28 range when upgraded. It is an incredibly cheap myth unit and a must include for any slow-moving defensive Egyptian game plan. Sobek is the only minor god that gives 2 myth units when hitting the Heroic Age, and that extra myth unit is the Rock, a fast flying transport. This unit is perfect for infiltrating behind enemy lines by flying over walls and dropping raiders. It's a little bit difficult to use, so make sure you land out of line of sight for successful raiding attempts. One other sort of naughty way to use this is to load it up with siege towers and then fly in next to a town center, land, eject, and enjoy some easy building destruction. You can also grab Sun-Dried Mudbrick in the TC, which cuts the cost of buildings by 10%, increasing their HP by 10%, and makes the buildings build 15% faster. This technology is an instant grab for me if I'm ever planning on building any Migdols, which is every game when going Sobek. You also get Dark Water, tech that boosts the camel riders and caravans hit points by 15% and gives some HP regeneration. This also comes in the market, so buy it there instead of taking up precious Migdol production time. Finally, you get a water-only unique technology. Solar Bark gives the cabinet the ability to spawn 3 sea snakes when it deals 200 damage. Unfortunately, I don't see a whole lot of use for this technology in the current map pool, but if a heavy water fighting map comes, it's not a bad tech to grab if the opportunity arises. The god power for Sobek is Locust, the bane of my existence. Just kidding, it's not that bad. There's some counterplay. Let's make the most annoying god power 50 favor. Let's all complain about Locust doing nothing so then it can come in and then it can kill Boit. Because he's the only one who ever actually dies to this. It summons 5 swarms of locusts that move at a speed of 3, dealing 3.5 divine damage per second to all units that stand inside of it. It can also kill Arcadian Meadow, berry bushes, chickens, herdables, and farms, and it also gets 20% stronger in the Mythic Age. Sekhmet is available to Ra and Set and comes with the Scarab, a siege myth unit that tears down buildings. It has a small amount of hack damage, but is quite tanky, so feel free to just throw this unit into your front line and enjoy some DPS soaking. Oh, and when it explodes, it'll do a hefty 60 divine damage with an AoE of 6. Crazy, you say? It would be, but there is fall off on this damage, so you only really get the full 60 divine to units that are right on top of the Scarab. Mostly the Scarab is used to catch your opponent off guard, whether a shifting sands combo or simply walking right up to their second town center and destroying it. The real strength in Sekhmet comes from the technologies. Bone Bow adds 2 range to the already stonking chariot archers, putting them up to a whopping 21 range. If you add ballistics into this, the chariot archer can start to beat out even units that are supposed to counter it. Slings of the Sun Makes you question whether you even want chariot archers though, as it gives 0.75 bonus against infantry to your slingers, allowing them to become functionally a Toxote with more range, and also a bonus versus archers. If you mix Slings of the Sun with Electrum bullets, your slingers become a real menace to deal with. Crimson Linen is a bit of a strange upgrade that won't see researching all too often. It gives lifesteal to your myth units, but the Scarab doesn't really do that much damage, so the lifesteal often doesn't have any impact, unless you happen to be against the Stone Giant, in which case it's amazing. Finally, Force of the West Wind is a wild technology that unlocks Catapult in the Heroic Age. It also adds 15% crush damage to siege weapons and myth units. The tech takes a few days to research though, so if you really want it quick, remember to put your Pharaoh on the siege work and get it out ASAP. Finally, the god power with Sekhmet is Citadel. This increases the population of your town center by 10, increases the train rate of units and technologies, including villages, by 25%, and increases the DPS from 20 up to 36. The recast rate isn't that high, and if you can get 3 of these down, you get a whopping plus 30 population over your opponent. Nephthys is available to Isis and Set and comes with the Scorpion Man, a nimble DPS machine that can erase villager lines or entire armies when used correctly. It has the special ability Sting, which does 12 divine damage with an AoE of 2, and an additional 27 divine over 6 seconds to all units hit. It is a little squishy, however, so get your special off and run if there are heroes around. The technologies for Nephthys are mostly centered around the priest, and you get 2 that improve them. Spirit of Mart reduces the cost of priests by 30 gold and increases their healing by 50%. And Nepti increases your Pharaoh and priest HP by 10%, as well as giving them an extra 1x versus myth units. You also get Funeral Rites, which gives you back 8 gold every time you lose a human soldier or a hero. And the water tech is Funeral Barge. I don't like this technology very much because it relies on chance, but you could potentially get a lot of Leviathans from it, from those pure water maps. But for normal competitive play, you probably won't see this get much use. The god power of his ancestors, it summons 13 controllable minions to fight for you. They have 4.75 speed, 11.1 DPS, and a negative multiplier versus villagers. This god power is the ultimate in setting up timings. Even with the negative multiplier versus villagers, it's still a great use to idle an entire economy as soon as you hit the heroic age. You can also use it in a timing attack, get yourself some siege towers out and an army and say, let's go kill them. Finally, when playing as Isis, you can do the dreaded Ancestors Eclipse combo, making the minions slap harder, run faster, and in general be more of a menace. The Mythic Age brings 3 minor gods as well. Osiris is available to Ra and Isis and comes with the dreaded Mummy. This beast of a support myth unit has the special ability Reincarnation. It does 60 divine damage over 15 seconds, and if a unit affected by this dies, it comes back as a minion to fight for you. It has an AoE of 2, so if you aim for clumps, you can end up getting some very nice reinforcements mid-fight. This unit is perfect to combine with the god power that comes with Osiris, son of Osiris. When used on the Pharaoh, it converts him into Egyptian's ultimate unit, a hero with all slightly better empower attributes than the Pharaoh. For example, gives 1.24x to the drop sites rather than just the 1.2x that the Pharaoh gives. The more important aspect is the chain lightning attack that does 11.7 divine damage per second and hits up to 3 other targets. He is incredibly important, so don't let him wander or your opponent will dive onto him and take him out. I suggest leaving him in the back of your army and attacking the front line with him. This will make it very hard for your opponent to hit him in fights with their ranged units. The technologies are Desert Wind, a speedster's wet dream, 15% extra damage, HP, and speed, pushing the Camel Rider up to a whopping 6.9 speed. You also get New Kingdom, which gives you a second pharaoh. This is a must-grab technology, either adding the pharaoh into your army to help deal with enemy myth units or sticking him on a building empowerment boosting duty is really important. Finally, you can grab Atef Crown. It's not super necessary, but it does increase the damage of the mummy and gives them more hit points as well as doubling the life of your minions. Thoth is available to Isis and Set and brings fire birds in the shape of the Phoenix. The Phoenix is an absolutely amazing fighting myth unit. It can be used to ruin enemy armies, but you do need a few of these to seriously feel their impact. If you don't want to build more than one, I recommend flying it around and being annoying to enemy villages. But if you do stick them in your army, make sure you focus down the enemy heroes with your supercharged chariots, while the Firebirds wreak havoc on everything in front of them. The next 3 technologies are some of the most powerful of the Egyptians. Valley of the Kings will produce an extra unit for free every time you build something out of an empowered Migdol or barracks. If you're making elephants and you have both Levy and conscript Migdol units, you get an extra elephant every 13 seconds, or roughly 1,150 resources every minute. Of course, your pharaoh is no longer boosting your gold mine or similar, so it's probably closer to like 800 resources total boost, but still absolutely gigantic. Book of Thoth is another huge economic boost, just boosting 10% across the board. If you combine this with Bast, you can get some really big late game gather rates going. Of course, this is only available to Isis, so better luck next time. Set. Finally, Tusks of Apatamak is your big hitter for the war elephant. One less population is invaluable, as well as a food and gold decrease of 10% to top it all off. You also get 10% extra damage. Yay. Fully upgraded and at full pop, these guys are insanely strong. To top it all off, you get the destructive god power Meteor, which showers down 12 meteors in an area clumping towards enemy units or buildings. Each strike deals 580 crush damage and 40 divine with an AoE of 8. This god power has the potential to level enemy armies, erasing nearby villages as well. It's best used when engaging an enemy army close to their base. The final Mythic Age god is Horus, available to Set and Ra. This god is the booster of barracks units and the bringer of nightmares for Norse players everywhere. You get the power of the Beyblade inside of the Avenger, who has the special ability aptly named Spin. Spin to win, which is functionally the same as the Sphinx special ability, but it does have 4 AoE and does way more damage. This is perfect for carving up backlines or murdering pesky dwarves. The technologies are Spear of Horus, increasing melee damage by 10% and giving +1 bonus to cavalry, turning the spearman from a soft counter to cav to a hard counter to cav. There's Axe of Vengeance, which turns the axeman into a building-killing monster with 2x bonus versus buildings, as well as a damage boost of 0.5% for every 1% of HP missing. Finally, Greatest of 50 improves infantry hit points by 20% and speed by 10%. It also unlocks the wedge formation, which is perfect for taunting enemy opponents. When combined with Sekhmet and Ptah, which is both available to Set and Ra, by the way, the barracks army becomes brutally strong. And to top it off, you get Tornado, another destructive god power that creates a whirlwind which moves in an anti-clockwise spiral. It deals 45.5 hack damage and 182 crush damage every second, allowing it to erase armies or buildings that stand within it. This is best used while taking a fight and will erase an enemy backline as well as the front line if it stays put. You can use it to kill off an upgraded town center, but this is normally not the most valuable. Well, there you have it. The Egyptian Pantheon in all its glory. If I missed something, let me know in the comment section below and I will answer it in full detail. But you know what? After the release of Demeter and Freyr, do you think we're going to be seeing a 4th Egyptian god next? Time will tell.